My husband's 28 male, sister, 22 female, got pregnant with her boyfriend. They had a child, let's call her Pam, 23 months. My mother-in-law is very controlling and doesn't like my sister-in-law's boyfriend because he wasn't as well off as she likes him to be. She forced them to break up. Boyfriend is actually a stand-up guy and takes full responsibility of Pam. And mother-in-law cut him off completely. Now they see sister-in-law as a tragic single mom and everyone loves Pam. I used to love Pam too. When she was newborn, I was pregnant at the time. I took care of her 24/7. I bathed her, fed her, etc. Because while everyone loves to play with her, no one wanted to actually take care of her needs. I took care of her until I finally had my baby, Olivia, 13 months. My mother-in-law has been playing favorites, and it's obvious. She keeps on saying Pam is a natural beauty, while Olivia is only cute because she has hair. It was for a while frustrating, but I got over it and learned to ignore. All this constant spoiling has made Pam a very challenging baby. Pam has tantrums all the time. She hits, kicks, sits on Olivia all the time, and no one intervenes. They laugh and think it's normal baby behavior. It comes to a point where my child screams whenever she hears even the slightest sound of Pam. All I can do is to protect Olivia the best I can and intervene Pam from hitting her. But now I can't take it any longer, cause my only support system, my husband, clearly loves Pam more than his own child. He keeps buying her gifts every time he gets home from work. He never does this with Olivia. He keeps on shouting randomly, "Where's Pam? I miss Pam. She is so cute. She is so pretty. She is the best." He never called Olivia pretty or cute. It makes me so insecure. He can play with Pam, we are neighbors, for 2 hours with undivided attention, while he never plays with Olivia when he gets off work. He just looks at her, says hello, and plays on his laptop until midnight. You have to understand the situation. I'm not jealous of the love he has for his niece. It's his behavior towards his own daughter that I'm scared of. Whenever Olivia tries to do something, he just says Pam can do it better. When Olivia called him Papa, he just shrugged, while I remember he cried when Pam called him Poppy for the first time. I exploded this morning finally because of all the feelings that I've been bottling up. The night before, I sent husband a picture of Olivia, smiling with her 2 teeth. There's a gap between. He said this, and I quote, "Oh, wow, we have to save up for braces." I told him no, it's normal. And then he says, "Pam's teeth are very neat." We weren't talking about Pam. Before he slept, he chanted, "Pam, Pam, Pam," randomly out of the blue. The next morning, he made up a song. Olivia has tooth gap. There's a huge gap. La 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 la. So this morning while I was feeding Olivia, who has been on eating strike for a couple days, he said, "What do you think? It's easier feeding Pam, right? Pam is so smart. Find me a video of Pam eating. I want to see." I was stressed and screamed at him to shut the F up. I don't want to hear about Pam anymore. He just walked off. I can't do this anymore. I feel bad for my daughter cause she didn't do anything wrong. I just want him to love her like he loves Pam, to give her attention. We tried deep talk a couple of months ago, and he changed for a week. Then he went back to his fangirling habit. The worst part is that I'm scared he thinks I'm psycho because I'm jealous of his love for his niece. I don't know how to get through to him. Should I just ignore this? What will happen to my daughter's emotional well-being? Edit. I have to clarify a few things. 1. I love my daughter. 2. Pam is definitely not his child because she is definitely from a different ethnicity. And Olivia is definitely his child because they look so much alike. 3. Yes, they come from an Asian subculture that prefers maternal bloodline. 4. Reason why I have hope. My friend's mother-in-law is a narcissist, and it took a while, but with effort, her husband now sees the toxic family dynamic in his family. Now they are stronger and can set boundaries. So I know that we can do it too. We just have to go past the denial phase of my husband. 5. Yes, I understand terrible 2 is real, and tantrums can happen. It's just whenever Pam hits Olivia. They all laugh, and they don't say stuff like, "Hitting is bad, don't hit." They encourage her, saying that she is a strong girl for hitting people. Now it has become a habit. Whenever Pam sees Olivia, she thinks hitting is playing. 6. Yes, we used to live with my husband's family. We moved out 2 months ago. Still too close for my mother-in-law to drop unannounced. A story for another day. I was looking for ways to make him see, hey, what you're doing is not okay. So I can convince him to go to therapy together and alone. But I understand that the bridge for self-awareness is really hard to cross. That's what I'm trying to do. With every respect, I think your husband is not in his right mind. Document the words and actions towards your daughter, either by phone or just writing it down. After some time, you either confront the behavior or use the documents as security when you leave. Take care of your kid first. Let the rest sort itself out. You need to sit him down and have a very serious conversation about why he is ignoring his daughter. Don't mention Pam. Keep the focus of the conversation on Olivia. Tell him this is not acceptable, and his focus needs to be on his own daughter from now on. He has obviously never bonded with her like a good father should. If he admits he has no love for her, then you know what you need to do. Get away as far as possible. A bit of background info. I'm a recent immigrant to the United States. My husband and I have been fighting to get me over here on a visa for the past 2 years. Virus happened and screwed things up. We ended up suing the government. Long story short, I had to quarantine in Mexico for 2 weeks before I got here as Europeans were banned from flying straight to the USA. We literally fought tooth and nail for this marriage to happen. This time last year, while I was in my home country, my husband had a stint in rehab. Mother-in-law promised she would look after him when he got discharged. What actually happened was this. Her husband, father-in-law, cheated on her with the next-door neighbor 2 days after my husband was released from rehab. This resulted in absolute chaos, and everyone felt sorry for her. I would spend hours on the phone with her trying to calm her down after she would threaten my husband that she would K herself. All of this caused a ton of emotional stress on both my husband and I, as he was recently sober, and I was a frontline worker during pandemic. Plus, we did not know when we would see each other again. Nonetheless, I would always send her cards, buy her small presents, call her. She would always say she was the victim of domestic violence, and she probably was, but we were both conscious of making her feel better and helping her get through this rough patch. Fast forward to 2 days before my wedding. My sister-in-law and I were getting our nails done, and she revealed another side to my mother-in-law. Quick info about my sister-in-law. My mother-in-law always would complain about her, make her out to be selfish, accuse her of preventing her from seeing her grandson, etc. Mother-in-law always told my husband and I to be careful of her. I won't go into all the details, but what sister-in-law told me about mother-in-law, if true, made her out to be A, bat crap crazy, and caused a lot of emotional trauma on my husband and brother-in-law. They currently have anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem issues. Sister-in-law also revealed she would complain about me regularly too, which hurt as I was always there for her. I invited my mother-in-law over on my wedding night. My family is banned from entering the USA due to pandemic currently, so I wanted her there to help me get ready and walk me down the aisle. She refused to go to the wedding rehearsal. The whole night she was freaking out over my father-in-law and his mistress, next-door neighbor lady, watching her on the wedding live stream that was set up for my family back home to watch. I kept telling her that the camera was only pointing at me and dear husband. The day of the wedding, she asked me to make her coffee while she complained about her ex-husband again. I found it exasperating, as this was supposed to be a happy day. After we got our hair and makeup done, I paid $500 for her. It was my treat to her. She kept asking me to take pictures of her. I had to get ready, so I politely excused myself after a few photos taken to put my dress, jewelry on. I asked her to help me with the buttons on my dress, and she kept complaining that she was tired. I was ready 2 hours before the ceremony, but she kept disappearing upstairs to drink and was on her phone constantly, doing nothing until the last second. She kept trashing the house where we would have our party after the ceremony, and I kept trying to clean it up after her in my dress. When it came time to leave, she kept delaying me by saying she needs more makeup on or needs to get something. I was on the verge of tears. We had 15 minutes to go until the ceremony started. Finally, we got in the car, and she lights up a cigarette. I smelled like smoke, and pulls over because it's so stressful, I need a minute. I had a panic attack and told her that I promised dear husband I'd be there on time. I was there just on time, but when we got in the venue, she started moisturizing her legs in the bathroom. My sister-in-law was there with me at this point. I told mother-in-law we needed to go, as she was walking me in. When it was time for me to walk down the aisle, she unlinked my arm and went to run over to my dear husband. I yanked her back. Throughout the whole ceremony, she was crying profusely, almost like it was a funeral. It was weird. She was in one photo and refused to take part, join us for more photos. Apparently, she kept smoking and complaining about father-in-law again to some of our guests, and went back to our house early. At the party, she never helped with setting up the food, and went to lie down in bed when guests arrived. She ghosted our guests when she came back down. announced she was leaving and told me to get her stuff, that she left lying around trashing the place, and put it in the bag for her. The room upstairs was a disaster. She smoked and there was a smell of cigarettes up there. Sister-in-law seen this and said this is how she treats her too. She pretty much made the most important day of my life the most stressful day of my life. Weirdly enough, she hid this behavior well. I'm extremely anxious of the future, as she has my husband always feeling sorry for her. I confided in my husband the day after my wedding, and while he did admit that mother-in-law is acting strange and out of order, he also said that sister-in-law is not to be trusted and is influencing my view on her somewhat. I don't know what to do at this point. Piece of advice with B women. Currently, they are complaining about each other, but you're the outsider here, so they will be complaining about you. And once they make up, if you said anything about either of them, they will tell each other and gang up on you. Neither of these women can be trusted. Don't let your guard down. Protect yourself. Dear husband, your sister didn't make mother-in-law trash the house. She didn't force mother-in-law to smoke like a chimney, or do any of the laundry list of bad behaviors she did on our wedding. Your mother chose to do all that, on our day, and every time we've needed her. So right now, I need you to stop prioritizing being a son, and start acting like a husband. What that means is reading books, working with a professional counselor, and looking at your mother objectively without the benefit of rose-colored glasses. Can you do this? Yesterday was supposed to be one of the most happiest days of my life, and it turned out to be the worst. My fiancé never showed up to the ceremony, leaving me at the altar. His friends and family tried to get a hold of him, but all calls went straight to voicemail. After waiting an hour for him, I told my guests that there wasn't going to be a wedding. I opened the reception hall and told them to enjoy the food and open bar. Even if there was no ceremony, I still wanted them to have a good time and enjoy the food and drinks. I tried to call him a couple of times, but after 3 more failed calls, I just stopped and told everyone else who was trying to get a hold of him to stop. He made it clear he didn't want anyone to get a hold of him, and I wasn't going to have them waste their time. I didn't cry. I wasn't going to cry, at least not in front of everyone. His mother came to me and apologized through tears. She told me how disappointed she was in him and that she was so sorry. I just shook my head and stuck with her the entire time. I didn't want her to cry and feel bad for something that wasn't her fault. The real MVPs were all of my friends. They did their absolute best to keep things from being awkward and entertained everyone. They played music, danced, and one of them went as far as going back home to bring a projector and a game system for all the kids and teens to play against each other with. I was glad that the day was somewhat saved, but I still felt horrible. My would-be brother-in-law Ethan kept me from getting super drunk when I really wanted to. Told me that it would be awkward if I did so I did my best to keep everyone happy. After 11, I told everyone who brought gifts to take them back and get their money back. A few of them refused and had me keep the gifts they got. So now I'm back at the hotel we got and I'm alone. This morning I got a couple of missed calls from my fiancé and several messages that I haven't opened yet. I'm so angry at him. He humiliated me yesterday by not showing up when he could have told me he was getting cold feet. I had my friend message him that I want to be left alone and that if he showed up at the hotel room, I was going to call my brothers to have him removed. So far, he hasn't shown up, but I am getting phone calls from his friends probably all wanting me to speak to him. I don't know if it's me being shallow or not, but now I'm rethinking our entire relationship and whether or not I see a future with him. So another issue is that I have an extra plane ticket. It was supposed to be for our honeymoon, but since the fiancé isn't here, I decided to enjoy my little getaway vacation for myself. A couple of friends are coming with me, but not for another week, since they got to get childcare, put in vacation time, etc., so they can't come since it's last second. To be honest, I want to invite Ethan because I've never traveled anywhere in my life. I know he's been where I'm going, and I want him to come so he can be there to show us the places to be at. Ethan told me he'd go for me, but should I invite him? I asked Ethan's mom and she was all for it, but I still don't know if it'll cause drama. Any advice? Update. Okay, so I feel like I should explain more about Ethan. First, I'm not going to take him. Second, I've known Ethan a little longer than my ex-fiancé. Please believe me when I say he's a close friend of mine. Both of us bonded by teasing his brother, and with that, we just kind of clicked and became fast friends. I wanted to take him because I didn't know how to use my ticket in the airport. I've never been traveling, and I didn't want to look dumb by trying to figure it out. Thankfully, someone said what to do, and I'm forever grateful, so now I feel much more confident. I know it sounded iffy trying to take Ethan, but honestly, it was for something innocent. I see him more of a brother than anything, now that I look at all the comments you guys left. And finally, I read my ex-fiance's messages. Yes, he's alive. He wasn't in any terrible accident. And the reason he never showed up was because he found out he has a kid. His childhood sweetheart came by with a kid maybe a couple of weeks ago. His best man knew and never told me because my ex didn't want him to tell me until he was 100% sure, and I guess he found out today. He apologized so many times for not showing up, but he couldn't because he felt so guilty. Of what, I don't know. He said a large part of him wants to make things right and take care of his son because he's always wanted a family. So screw the last 3 years, right? I don't know if that means he's going back to his ex because he wants to talk over the phone. Honestly, I'm done. I think it's an excuse to get back with his ex. I don't believe he's ever gotten over her and her over him, which is why she chose now to show herself. He sent a picture of the kid to me, and I went over to ex-fiance's mom's Facebook to see any pictures she posted of ex-fiance when he was a kid. They're low quality, but there is definitely a resemblance. It feels so surreal to me, like this is one big joke. I feel like I'm missing info, like there's something else going on, but I'll find out later. I haven't responded, so instead, I'm just going to open a bottle of wine and just get plastered. My best friend is currently on her way with takeout and ice cream, so I thought I'd share this. He literally left you standing at the altar. You absolutely should not have a future with someone who does that.